Hello, good afternoon, and thank you for joining us for this information session on Lassonde's Engineering Program Guarantee today. So we want to thank you for your interest and your application to engineering at the Lassonde School of Engineering at York University. It really means a lot to us that you have chosen to apply to us. My name is Katrina, and I'm here to provide you with more information specifically on the Engineering Program Guarantee and how to apply for it. I'm joined by Jamil, who is one of our lead ambassadors, and he is also a mechanical engineering student. All right, 1 second. There we go. Okay, so just before we get started, I just want to give you a few quick housekeeping notes. We expect this session will probably run maybe half an hour, 40 minutes, and there is going to be a question and answer period at the end. So if you have questions, we will be answering them. You can also put your questions in the Q&A box, and Jamil will do his best to keep up if there's lots of questions there, but if not, we'll also be taking some questions live near the end of the session. The session is being recorded, and we will share the link to view it after the session. We'll be sending that out in the next few days. So really what we're hoping that you get out of this session is kind of understanding what the engineering program guarantee is, how to secure an engineering program guarantee, and where to go if you have any questions about what your next steps are. Right. So just more specifically on the agenda, I talked about that, and we're going to talk a little bit more about completing the co-application. And there's a few options that are on the co-application itself, and I'll explain a little bit more what that's about. And then, like I said, we're going to take some questions and share with you all the different ways that you can connect with us if you have further questions. All right. So just before we get started, I want to recognize the lands that York University is located on. So as a member of the York University community, my team and I recognize that many Indigenous nations have longstanding relationships with the territories upon which the campuses are located, and these precede the establishment of the university. We acknowledge our presence on the traditional territory of many Indigenous nations. The area known as Tkaronto has been caretaken by the Anishinaabeg Nation, the Haudenosaunee Confederacy, the Huron-Wendat, and the Métis. It is now home to many Indigenous peoples. We acknowledge the current treaty holders, the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation. This territory is subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement to peaceably share and care for the Great Lakes region. All right, so why do we have something called the Engineering Program Guarantee? We have an engineering program guarantee because all of our first year engineering students are in the engineering core first year. Get that highlighter out of there. So that means that you're not actually able to apply to, and thus not able to get admission directly into the actual engineering programs. So the engineering programs that we offer at Lassonde are, I should know these off the top of my head better. Civil, computer, trying to do electrical, mechanical, mechatronics, space, and software. So everybody who applies for admission is considered for admission to the core engineering first year. And then all of those specific disciplines that I mentioned actually begin in second year. So why a core first year? Well, the first year courses across engineering programs and across our engineering courses are the same, with the exception of one course in second term, which is different for some of the different majors, but all of the other courses are the same. There's lots of physics, there's lots of math, both algebra and calculus. There's our common engineering design courses, and there's lots of computing. So everybody's all in these courses together. This also gives you the opportunity to explore the different disciplines that we offer before formally committing to which actual program you're in second year. All right. However, we do understand that many of our students applying to us already know which of our programs they want to join, and they don't necessarily want to take the risk that they're not going to get into that program in second year. So that's why we offer the engineering program guarantee. Almost all of our students are able to secure their spot in their program in second year. So we don't want people to be worried about that because it really isn't as complicated as a process as it sometimes feels like it could be. So we are happy to say here, you know what, you have a spot and it's held for you in second year. So I'm going to talk a little bit more in detail about how to secure it. But the fact that you've already received the email invitation means that you've done the most important first step, and that is to submit your application for admission by the deadline of February 2nd. So everybody whose application we had by February 2nd, we sent the email to invite them to the optional engineering program guarantee and then also to this webinar. So that's the other thing I didn't say before. This is completely optional. It is not something that you are required to do. If you don't know which program you want to join in second year, that is perfectly okay. And that is, so when we give out program guarantees, we actually only give out up to 75% of a program capacity because we want to leave spaces for students who either were undecided when they came in or who changed their mind during first year, which again is something that we truly encourage because that's the whole point of our core first year. As you discover things, you might change your mind. All right. So how do you qualify for an engineering program guarantee? So again, you have all already met this step as you had to submit your application for admission to engineering at Lassonde by February 2nd. And this is for both the Kiel engineering and for first year engineering at Markham. The program guarantee process is exactly the same across both programs because both of those programs are coming into the same program in second year. And then last week, we emailed out the engineering program guarantee co-application, which I'll show you some screenshots of moving forward. So that's already happened. And in the coming little while, the majority of our offers of admission are going to be made sort of between now and the beginning of April. So we are making early offers of admission to high school students based on grade 11 grades. We haven't gotten your grade 12 first semester grades yet. We actually aren't scheduled to get them until later next week, but we do start to make more offers of admission and we'll be lowering our cutoff a little bit because right now it's still at the early offers cutoff. So it's going to come down a little bit. And then we usually make the majority of our offers of admission in that kind of late February, early March time when we get those first semester grades. Again, that's for Ontario high school students. Everybody else, just be getting your documents into us because we are reviewing applications and it is still quite early. We're still making lots of offers of admission. So that's the stage here about making offers of admission. Your next real deadline is April 1, and that is your deadline to submit your engineering co-application, which again, I will show you in a moment. And then as of April 1, when we have everybody's program choices, everybody who already has an offer of admission, that's when we start sending out engineering program guarantees. So we usually send the first round, the first big batch of program guarantee offers as early as possible in April. I think April 1st is a Monday this year. So we'll try to have those offers out to you really in the first few days. And then I usually try to do it every couple of weeks as more offers of admission are being made. We continue to make program guarantee offers really up until the middle of May. So for as long as if you're an Ontario high school student, it's all the way through to your second semester midterms when we make those offers of admission. We do continue to make engineering program guarantee offers all the way through to that. And then once you have a program guarantee offer, then there's a few steps that you need to do to secure it. But at this point, you don't need to worry so much about that. The biggest thing is that you need to accept your offer of admission, and then you will need to actually choose which one of your program guarantee offers you do want to secure. Okay, and again, I'll show you a little bit more in a second. Okay, so this is Generally, these are screenshots of what the co-application looks like. So in the email that you were sent with your personalized link to your co-application, it's really important that you use that link in your email. Don't share that link with anybody else. If you have a friend who maybe lost their email, please get in touch with us and we'll send you your personalized link. The reason that personalized link matters is because that link actually connects all of your choices back to your record. And that's the record that we use to actually consider you for the offers. So we do need you to use your personalized link. All of this section here will be pre-filled. So it should have your first name, last name, the email that we have on your application, and your York reference number. That should all be pre-filled. If any of that is not correct for you and you're using your link, send us an email because that looks like, if that's the case, then there is a problem with your link. And again, if you're using somebody else's and you just delete the name and information, all that, it's still going to submit to that other person's choices. Okay. So that part you're just sort of making sure is correct. But then the co-application itself. So you can select your top choice and your backup choice. If you don't have two separate choices, that is absolutely okay. You can put none selected as your backup choice if you're only interested in one. If you put the same choice twice, it doesn't mean that you're considered doubly. For like the form isn't quite smart enough to not allow you to do that. But if you put the same choice twice, so if you're like really, if you're only interested in civil, if you put civil, you're just going to get considered for civil. When I'm reviewing the choices, I just go in and clean those up. And it's totally okay if you're not interested in two. So the backup choice, if it's like, this mechatronics program looks really interesting. I think I'm interested in that, but I'm not sure about that right now. So I think I'm still going to put mechanical down. That is perfectly okay. It's just giving you more time to decide which one you might want to lock into moving forward because you don't need to do that. Okay. So you just put in your top two choices. That's the only part of the form that you need to submit to be considered for an engineering program guarantee. All of the rest of this is optional, and I'm going to talk about what these options are a little bit more in the next few slides. But all we really need are your top two choices. It does make you put in a backup choice. So again, you can put in none selected if you don't have a backup. And that's totally okay. It does make you do both. And then you have to hit submit here at the bottom. When you actually mouse over it, it does light up. And when you hit submit, the web page changes. It says thank you, and it actually will pre-fill and it'll show you what these are. And you will get an email confirmation that we have received your submission. There will also be a link in that email confirmation. If you wish to change your choices, you can just click on that link. It just takes you back to this version of the page. And again, what you've already submitted should be sitting there as part of a pre-fill because it's just pulling from the application that you have already submitted. You can change your choices right up until that deadline on April 1st. So if right now you're like, I think I want this, but I want a little bit more time to think about it, there is no harm whatsoever in you submitting it now. I'm actually not going to be going in until after April 1st anyway to make any offer. So if you're like, maybe if there's early offers, I don't want to miss out. That's not really what we do. The deadline is April 1st. I honestly don't look at it until April 2nd. So there's no harm in you putting it in now. And we do send out some reminders closer to. So then when, if you're like, oh, you know what, I think I've changed my mind between that, that's fine. You can do that right up until midnight on April 1st. All right. Like I said, it's just most important that you remember to click submit. Okay. So I'm going to first talk about this first year mode of learning. So remember, this question is optional and you're not formally committing to anything when you fill this out. It's just letting us know if you might, which of the mode of learning options you think that you'll be most interested in. So we offer something at Lassonde at the Kiel campus only, and it is called the block model. So there's two different ways you can choose to do your first year courses in engineering at Kiel. So The first is what we call the traditional model, and that is like the standard way that university courses are offered everywhere. So that's in a term, you're usually taking 5 or 6. In the winter term, you're usually taking 6 courses at a time. And you just have like Monday, Wednesday, Friday, you might have calculus, Tuesday, Thursday, you might have computing. Again, a traditional what a university um, schedule looks like, that all your courses start in September, they all end in December. The block model is a little different. So again, it's offered at Kiel only, and it's for first year only. In the past, it was only the fall term. If you're going and looking at the website, this literally just changed yesterday. It is now available for both the fall and the winter term. So the entire first year, the website just hasn't been updated yet. So like I said, if you're checking that, you're like, wait a sec. So it's now for all of first year. And what it is you just take one course at a time, and you take that course for about 3.5 weeks. And there's blended delivery. So that means that you're taking, I was giving the examples of physics and calculus and that sort of thing. So if you're doing calculus, you're literally doing calculus 5 days a week, 7 days a week, until calculus is done, and then you're finished, and then you'll do like physics, and you'll do that till physics is done, and then you're finished. I'm just going to give you an idea of what an example looks like. This is again taken from the website. So our kind of general engineering design course that runs through the whole year, but through most of September, you would just do that first algebra course. Then that's finished. You write your final exam, and it's done. You get a final grade. It's completely done. And then you start course number 2, which would be your computing course. For example, you do that, you're only doing that in this engineering design course, and then that's done, and then you move on. So that's just an example. So again, if this is something you're interested in, you can indicate that on your engineering co-application. So then when you start to do your academic advising and doing your course enrollment, the academic advisors will see that you're interested in that, and they will reach out to you to see if you're still interested in it at that time. If you are a transfer student, if you're joining us and you're expecting some transfer credit, this may not be a good option for you if you think you're going to be getting transfer credit for some of these courses. And it's not something that we would want students with transfer credit really, really joining. But if you just have a little bit of transfer credit, like maybe one course, that might be okay. Right? And again, it's not necessarily for everybody. Every course is pretty intense. So if it's something you think you're interested in, that's great. It's an option, but it's not something that you have to do. And then the second area that's on the co-application is to see if you're interested in our BEST program. So again, this is an optional question. It's actually not something that really formally starts in first year anyway. It's just if you're interested in it, then you can, sort of join in the way that the program has your name on a list, and then they can be emailing you and inviting you to programs. So what the BEST program is in many ways, it's our Lassonde version of a minor in business. So there's a few different ways that you can go about this. So the first way is our certificate in technology entrepreneurship. So like I said, that's like comparable to a minor in business. So it's actually shows on your transcript when you graduate, and it's a collection of courses, and you need to be in the BEST certificate to be able to enroll in some of those courses. And some of them are offered through Schulich, some of them are offered through Osgoode Hall Law School. So they count towards your engineering degree, but there's a business focus on them. One of the other things that the BEST program supports is an entrepreneurial co-op. So while co-op is optional for all of our students at Lassonde and all of our engineering students, most students who do a co-op do like a more, let's call it a traditional co-op, where they go into a company and they work at a company. The BEST program supports and funds an entrepreneurial co-op. So if you have a startup idea, you can actually pitch it to the BEST team, and if they accept it, they will fund you to do your co-op working on your startup. And the BEST team also does have resources. So there's professors and there's a whole network of people that are involved in entrepreneurship and in startups, and they can support you through your co-op period to be working on that. So the slide here says, learning the ins and outs of running a business. And we also have an entrance award for incoming students. who are interested in entrepreneurship, which is also run through our BEST program. And we email all of our incoming students about that, usually later in the summer, earlier in the fall. It's $1,000 entrance award, but I think there's 10 of them that are available. So again, if you're already dabbling in entrepreneurship, definitely keep an eye out for that and definitely apply for it as you're joining us next year. So again, back to the co-application. Just get my slide to go back. That's what this little tick box is here. If that's something that you're interested in, you can tick that off. You're not formally committing to anything. It doesn't change your courses for first year or any of that because your courses are all set for first year anyway. It just sort of like adds you to the list that the BEST team has to promote events and that sort of thing, and to know that you're interested in it. And if that's, not what you're interested in, that's totally fine. There's no pressure. You're not more likely to get an engineering program guarantee if you do or don't fill any of these out. It's really not part of it at all. It's just letting you know about what some of your other options are. Oh, sorry. I had other slides on the certificate, and I apologize for that. Yeah. Okay. And that was really just kind of running through the basics of the engineering program guarantee and how to apply for it, and to show you what the form looked like. So I am happy to take any questions. I'm just going to open up the Q&A. So I can see that there's a question here. What's the difference between the engineering co-application and the Boost co-application? Okay, this is a really great question. So there's a question, but the difference between the engineering co-application and the Boost co-application, and if they are the same thing. They used to be the same thing and they're not anymore. And I know we do have some old information in places on our websites, so that can get a little bit confusing. So the engineering co-application is what we were just talking about for, at this stage, it's for the engineering program guarantee. If you know which program you want to secure for next year, you can do that now. Just so you know, the engineering co-application actually continues all the way until you join your second year program. So your form is going to look the same if you decide that you want to change your program request for second year, even if you have an engineering program guarantee. It's the same looking form. It'll just be a slightly different link, but it's all part of that engineering co-application. Or if you decide you don't want to do an engineering program guarantee, you're like, I really don't know what I want, you're going to be sent another version of the form a little bit later. So in your first year, if you join us at Lassonde by May 1st, at the end of your first year, so for you, that will be May 1st of 2027, you need to tell us which programs you want to be in for first year. I mean, for second year. So if you have an engineering program guarantee and you still want to stay in that program, you don't have to tell us anything. We're just going to continue with that engineering program guarantee. But if you got a program guarantee to civil and you say, oh, you know what? I've learned about space. I really want to change to space now. You just go into that co-application. So that's what that co-application is, because we have that core first year and you're not officially in your program until second year. The Boost application is something completely different. So the Boost application is a digital interview. So the Boost application we will be sending out to students whose academic profile is just a little bit below what our admission requirements are, and that's their chance to submit an interview, and that boosts their academic profile. If their answers to the questions show that they are in a good position to join the Lassonde program, then we can extend an offer of admission. Because I think we all know that sometimes grades are, they're not really the most the best, predictor of who you really are. So we'd rather, maybe be a little more careful with the grades that we're requiring, but then learn a little bit more about who's actually interested in joining us. And that's what the Boost application is. So we will be sending that out to students that will qualify for it. If you already have an offer of admission, you won't hear about Boost because you don't need it, because it's only to help get an offer of admission. All right, I hope that answers that question. Okay. So the next question, just give me a moment while I read it. I have a question regarding first-year engineering admissions. If I apply to a guaranteed specialization, does that affect how my application is considered for first-year engineering in general? And the question continues, in other words, are applicants evaluated differently based on what they put on the engineering co-application? Right. And no. So what's on the end, what you input on your Lassonde Engineering co-application has no impact whatsoever on your chances of getting admission or not. Our admission is really to that core first year, and that's what we do admission to. So if you're worried that you maybe will put a program that you think might be more competitive, that it'll be harder to get admission, or alternately a program you think might be less competitive, it'll be easier to get admission. That's not how it works at all. The engineering program guarantee and the co-application is completely separate from getting an offer of admission. So I hope that that answers that. I just want to make sure. Yeah. And actually, I'm happy to share a little bit of information on that about what might be competitive for a program guarantee, and what may not be. So our only program at this time, which actually is seeing a little bit more demand than the current capacity that we have, is mechanical engineering. So that doesn't mean that it's a better program and that the other programs aren't as good. It really has everything to do with how many people are interested in it and how, like, what the size of the program is and how quickly we can adjust to that. So mechanical has actually seen a pretty good increase in demand in the last year or so. And it's not something that we can just all of a sudden take 50 more students, because, it takes a little longer than that to hire a professor and that sort of thing. So mechanical has been the only one that has been a little bit competitive going into second year. Otherwise, all of our other programs have capacity for our students that are in them. So if mechanical is on your short list, then just to be safe, I would strongly encourage you to submit an engineering program guarantee for that. And other programs, it's your chances are very, very high. But again, we are talking about something that's going to be like, a full year from now. So sometimes it's kind of hard to predict what things are going to be and how they're going to change, because sometimes things do change really quickly, but that's not something that we're seeing at this point. So I hope that helps in terms of advice. Okay, so the next question is, if I've received a conditional offer, if you have received a conditional offer, will you receive a new offer before the deadline? So this question is from Spencer. I just want to make sure, Spencer, I am properly understanding your question. So yes, if you've received a conditional offer of admission, so almost all offers of admission that we make are conditional. So if you are currently doing any studies, your offer of admission is conditional. So if you're in grade 12 right now, even if you have like literally a 99%, 100% average, your offer of admission is still conditional, because you still need to actually complete your OSSD. And then we still need to get your final grades, even though it's probably like nearly, well, you still have all of your second semester courses. So you still have to complete your OSSD, you still have to pass your prerequisite courses, you still need to meet all of those requirements. So none of that actually happens until we get those final results, right? So your result is conditional until then. If you've already completed high school and you're not taking any other courses right now, like you're not currently doing college or university courses or anything, then we could make a final offer of admission, because there's nothing currently in progress. But if you're doing any courses right now, your offer of admission will be conditional. And then when you're done those studies and we get the results from those studies, that's when we can change your offer of admission to a final offer. There's a few other reasons you might have a conditional offer of admission. We may extend an offer of admission where you still have to do Lassonde Academy to meet one of the requirements. And I wasn't going to get into that so much today. This was more specifically about the engineering program guarantee, or if you need to submit something like English proficiency. So if you do have any of those, you would need to do that. And then when your offer of admission becomes final, it gets updated in your MyFile. We usually, for Canadian students, don't create another admission letter, but if you really need one for a reason, you can just let us know. But usually Canadian students don't need it. And even if you're asking for things like RESP, then you'll actually get an enrollment letter for that. So that's actually a different thing. Some international students might need a final offer of admission just to for immigration when they arrive in the country, but you don't need it to apply for a study permit. Okay. So Spencer, I hope that answers your question. So moving on to the next question from Anonymous, it says, so basically no one has gotten admission for the courses they have applied for. Okay, when do we start giving admission? So we are making it, we have been making it offers of admission to our engineering core first year program. So both engineering at the Kiel campus and to first year engineering, we are making offers of admission to that. However, we don't do admission to the programs, civil, computer, electrical, mechanical, mechatronics, software space. None of them start until second year. So you actually get formally join those programs after first year. So it usually happens in about June after your first year that it formally happens. But if you have an engineering program guarantee, as long as you have the average to go on into second year, which is a C plus, it's not excessively high. As long as you have that average, then you just move into the program that you have with a guarantee. If you don't have an engineering program guarantee, you just need to submit what your choices are. Again, as long as you have a C plus, you should move through just fine. Again, the only issue is if there's more students that want that program that year than what there's space for, then it's competitive based on your average in your first year courses at LaSalle. And again, that usually happens in June. And then if you use, so some students can do summer school courses to increase their GPA if that's an issue, if they don't have that C plus GPA right at the end of the fall winter term. And then we review those again in August because we want our students to be able to join the program that they're most interested in. Okay. So the next question from Anonymous is, I have not filled out the program guarantee as it says April 1st in the deadline. Yes, and you have until April 1st to fill out the engineering program guarantee. So that's up to you. If you want to submit it sooner, you can, but it's not due until April 1st, but it is due on April 1st. We may even close the form on April 2nd. So just so you know, make sure you get it in by April 1st. And if there's more requests for a certain program than other programs, even if we leave it open after April 2nd, that'll just depend on how many people apply. But the first choice goes to people who applied by the deadline. Okay. Okay, so Anonymous has asked to explain the Boost program one more time. Boost, and just asking if it doesn't apply for high school applicants. So in this term, you just made a point. If you've already been admitted, then you won't be invited to Boost because Boost is only to help students who don't have an offer of admission, whose academic profile is really near the minimum that we're looking for. So if you already have an offer of admission, you don't need Boost at all, but we will be inviting students from all different applicant types. So it won't just be high school students, it'll be other types of students. So if you don't have an offer of admission by maybe like the middle of March and you think that you're close, you're absolutely welcome to reach out to us and just ask how close you are and if Boost might be an option for you. Okay. And again, we will be sending out invitations about that, but there's no harm in you ever asking what your actual status is. Okay. Javi has a question. Already received the program guarantee email. And the deadline is April 1st. Oh, this is a great question, Javi. So you're wondering if you do the program guarantee, does that mean I'm also accepted to York University? Or that you've responded? No, in terms of you submitting the program guarantee, it sounds like in your case you've already been offered admission, so congratulations. Submitting your program guarantee choices is not accepting your offer to York University or to Lassonde. This is just an optional step that kind of runs on the side. You can still be considering your other options for admission. So the reason that we're running this kind of at the same time as admissions is because we want you to know before you have to accept an offer of admission if you have a program guarantee to the program that you really want to be in, right? We don't want you making that choice on June 1st, being like, oh, I hope, this works out for me for second year. You can have a program guarantee in advance of June 1st. So yes, I have a spot in the program that I want to be in. But it's not the same as accepting your offer. And just so you know, even if you get program guarantee offers, you still have to actually accept your offer of admission. That is still really one of the important steps. Right. I hope that answers your question, Javi. Oh, so we have a question saying you were accepted to Markham and you want Keele and just wanted to know if it's possible. It is absolutely possible. The admission requirements for Markham and Keele are exactly the same. Please change your application. So log in. If you applied on UAC, you just need to log in and change your application from Markham Engineering to Keele Engineering. And I do encourage you to do that sooner than later, but the admission requirements are exactly the same at Markham and Keele because it's the same engineering program. It's not any easier to get in at Markham or Keele or the other way around. The only thing is that Keele might fill up a little bit sooner. So changing your application sooner just gets you an offer of admission. But if you're admitted at Markham, you'll be admitted at Keele. Okay. All right. Lots of questions. That's great. Sorry, the questions are jumping around on me. What has been a competitive GPA to first year as of now? Yes, I'm very happy to disclose that. And again, we weren't really thinking so much about admissions on this. So we expect the admission average for students joining us from high school to the engineering programs. We expect it'll be kind of in the low 80s. We don't know exactly at this time exactly what that's going to be. It could be 80%, but it might be 81 or 82. Once we get that first semester grade data, we'll be able to know for certain. And the reason we kind of need to wait on that is because the grades kind of overall change every year. They did go up with the COVID years, but they seem to be kind of back to where they used to be. So I think they're probably going to be around 80%. Just so you know, for early offers right now, we're using a grade of 85%, and that's really based on last year's grades. So again, if you think that you're a solid like 80, 82 student, you're like, why haven't I gotten an offer yet? It's just because for early offers, we're still using that 85%. But as soon as we get those first semester grades, we go to really what our regular average required is. And even though I'm sure you know your grades, we haven't gotten them yet. So that'll be in the next couple of weeks. All right. And we will know better in like a couple of weeks exactly what that number is going to be because I know I'm still a little bit vague on that. Okay. And then, so I think we got all the questions because Jamil's typing an answer to the last one. Oh, someone just came in. Okay. We have a question from Yas, who's in Alberta. Hi, Yas. And you've already submitted your first semester marks. That's great. You got them before we got them from the Ontario students. Yeah, it's just from Ontario. So don't worry so much about that. Ontario has a whole system where the schools actually send the results for the students and they just give the schools a long time to do it. So it's great you've submitted your first semester grades. If you submitted them recently, we should be reviewing them very soon. If you don't hear back, honestly, from like it sometimes takes a day or two from the time you submit your grades. So this is anybody who actually uploads documents, which Yas would have done. It can take like a business day or two from the time you upload it to like get matched to your application. And then usually like a week and a half for somebody to actually go through and review it when you have to submit actual documents because somebody actually goes in and looks at it. If you don't have an update after, so 2 weeks from the time you submitted it, let us know. We will jump in and take a look at it. Yeah, particularly when you're coming from out of province, you'd like to know what your options are. Okay. Oh, and Moses, yes, we will be posting a recording of this. Yeah, we know that the timing doesn't necessarily work for everybody, so we will be sending out an email to everybody, letting them know about the recording. All right. So, yeah, Anonymous has another question said, was it sent to all students? So the engineering program guarantee was sent to everybody who applied by that February 2nd deadline. So if somebody has applied since February 2nd, they wouldn't have gotten it. We will see how many responses we get by April 1st. Because again, the deadlines are really what's most important for the engineering program guarantee. If there's still lots of capacity, then we'll open it up to people who applied after February 2nd. But at this point, it's just to people who applied by that application deadline. Okay. And yeah, and it was emailed. So if you haven't received a link, check your email, the email you used on your application. Okay. All right. So if you have more questions, I'm going to let you know different ways to continue to chat with us. There we go. Okay, so there's a few ways for you to learn more about us in the upcoming months. Really, the best way is to join us on Discord. And we call our channel on Discord Lassonde Community. And our ambassadors are in Lassonde Community. It's literally, we have people in there like every day of the week. So it's a great place to get a quick answer to something and to chat with our ambassadors. And you can like really find out what it's like. We have ambassadors for all of our programs. So for every single one of our engineering programs, we have ambassadors and they are there and there all the time. So that is, if you're already on Discord, if you already use Discord, that's a great place to learn more about us. If you're in the Toronto area, we offer tours on a weekly basis. Most weeks we actually offer 2 tours. So if you want to come and see us, that's a great way to like look around. We have an open house coming up at the end of March. It's the Saturday at the end of March break, and then we're running extra tours during March break as well. So that's a great way to come and see us. But you should have also gotten emails about some of our virtual information sessions. So coming up in the next month, we're running like 6 information sessions every week. We're running info sessions on all of our different programs. So that's a great way if you want to consider which programs you might want to put as your top choice and your backup choice. Those info sessions are really the place to go, and they are run by our ambassador team. So again, students that are currently in the program right now. And then we also have a session at this time next week run by our director of first year engineering. And it's really specifically on the first year engineering program and like more detailed information on block model. So if you want to understand a little bit more about that, that's a great session to go to. And then if podcasts are your thing, then we also have a This is Lassonde podcast. If you go to this link, it just takes you to a page with all of that stuff on it. And then more specifically, if you want to talk to us, so like I said, chatting with us in Lassonde Community on Discord, we call it the LC. That is a great place. If you want to send us an email, this is our email address. So this goes to me and the recruitment officers. That really is the best place to send us an email because we're all in there every day. And if you have a specific question, particularly if you have like a really specific question about your application, that the Discord isn't the best place to ask that because our ambassadors, you don't want to be sharing that kind of information in Discord and our ambassadors can't log into your application. But if you want that sort of thing, if you want to email me or our actual recruitment officers, that's the best place to do it. And then all of those other info sessions that I was just saying, if you don't have that email at your fingertips, this is the URL to find all of those info sessions that we have coming up because there's a whole lot of them. And then we're going to be offering more info sessions again in April and May. These are just what we have coming up right now in the near future. Okay. So thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. I hope that this helped kind of clarify what's going on with the optional engineering program guarantee. You had some really, really great questions. And again, if you have any questions after today, please don't hesitate to reach out to us. And I look forward to receiving your engineering co-application, and we look forward to you potentially joining us at Lassonde next year. Thank you so much.